I drove up to open my aunt's lake cabin for summer. A bulldozer was parked in the drive and a sign read demo permit approved. My husband had filed it behind my back using an LLC with my maiden name. I'm 32F, he's 34M. We live in the Twin Cities, St. Paul side, up by Como, small bungalow, loud radiators, and a dog who thinks squirrels pay rent. My aunt left me her place on Mill Lacs 2 summers ago. Nothing fancy, 2 bedrooms, knotty pine, a crooked deck, and a dock my cousins and I jumped off until our mother yelled about leeches. We got married there. My aunt's ashes are scattered off the end of the dock. It's part of me. Last winter, after snow finally loosened its grip, I grabbed a gas station coffee and drove up to pull tarps and find the mouse nests. When I rounded the last bend, there was a yellow excavator idling and a laminated county sign zip-tied to a birch. Demolition permit approved. Owner, North Star Retreats, LLC. Parcel number matched. Applicant listed, authorized signer, S, my maiden name. My stomach hit my knees. I called my husband, Chris. He answered like he knew what ringtone it was and hated it. "Why is there a backhoe at the cabin?" I asked. He exhaled. "Okay, I can explain." Then explain." "I applied for a teardown/rebuild permit," he said. It's a plan. Hear me out. We scraped the shack. We put up 3 eco cabins, nice A-frame style. Short-term rentals pay the note. In 5 years, we own it all free and clear. It's an investment. "You used an LLC with my maiden name," I said, staring at the sign. "It's a good name," he said too quickly. "Feels Northwoodsy." "Didn't you?" Silence. The gull screamed like a divorce attorney. "We can talk about it," he said. "Just don't freak." A neighbor in a camo hat ambled over from the next lot, hands in pockets. "They told us tomorrow," he said, squinting at the machine. "You must be the owner?" "I saw the name on the permit." "Condolences about your aunt. She taught my kids to water ski." I grabbed a laminated sheet, pulled the staple up with my fingernail, and took a picture. Then I called the county planning office, left a voicemail with a voice that sounded like someone trying not to be a tornado, and then called my mom. "You sitting?" I asked. Chris filed to tear down the cabin with an LLC he made with my name. My mother said the kind of swear that only women in their 60s can pull off. I drove back to the cities and took the long way down 65 so I didn't crash on purpose. "You called it Starlin Retreats, which is my grandfather's last name. You applied for a permit as authorized agent. You signed my name on the county application and again on something called a site plan affidavit. You opened a business checking at a credit union with $15, and you have hard money term sheets from a guy with a Gmail. They want 12%, he said. It's not ideal, but we'd refinance after stabilizing." He built a world while I was grading essays and making chili. There were renderings, printouts from Pinterest, revenue projections, notes about local cleaning teams, smart locks, kayaks. He'd met a builder in Brainerd. He had a calendar with phrases like mobilize, footings, mech ruffin. "Chris," I said, sitting so I didn't fall. "You used my name. I didn't consent." He rubbed his face. "You've been saying it's too much work. The roof, the mice, your mom's guilt. I thought if I brought you a plan, you'd see it as a way to keep the lake in the family and not drown paying for a new roof in cash." "I said I was applying for a rehab grant," I said. "I found a guy who does roofs for beer and cash." He looked like I'd tripped him. "This is better," he insisted, then deflated. It got bigger than I meant it to. The permit came quick. I called the county the next morning. The planner was named Kendra. She sounded like she wore a fleece and had been yelled at by men who'd never filled out a form. "If your name is on a notarized owner consent, that's a problem," she said. "Do you remember signing?" No, I said. And I'd remember signing away my aunt. She sent me scans. My signature, sort of. Notary seal from a UPS store in Blaine. I drove there, looked the clerk in the eye, and said, "Was this yours?" He checked his journal. "Nope," he said. "We don't notarize without IDs. That's not our stamp either. People copy. We call the state when we see it." Kendra filed a stop work order that afternoon. She sounded like a fairy godmother in a Carhartt. "We flagged the parcel. Nothing moves without your written consent. Pull your aunt's easement file, by the way. There's a shoreline setback you need to know." I called a lawyer. He was one of my nonprofit donors. Nice, mid-50s, loves the twins, and when I explained, he stopped me at "forged." "I'll handle the county," he said. "You handle your husband." I went to my friend Kara's place in Cathedral Hill with a duffel bag and the dog. I told Chris I needed space. He said, "I love you," like it was a currency. I said, "Your business plan doesn't go in the dishwasher. You can't clean this." Updates update 1 week later, the county rescinded the permit pending an owner consent investigation. They sent a letter, paper, bless them, saying false statements on applications may be referred to law enforcement. Kendra called to say she walked the site and told the excavator guy to leave. He rolled his eyes but rumbled away. The neighbor in camo hat texted me a photo of the empty drive and a "you got this." My lawyer, Mark, drafted a letter to the lender saying, "We do not and will not consent. Do not file any liens." He sent a longer letter to the builder, "Cease and desist all work under penalty of lawsuits you do not want." We pulled the deed. The cabin was solely in my name thanks to Aunt Joy's will. That helped. The LLC papers listed Chris as manager. The bank wanted my signature to fund anything. He didn't have it. He had tried to skip that with charm and a notary copy machine. The hard money guy texted him, and Chris texted back some nonsense about paperwork delay. He moved into his brother's in White Bear and sent me an email with a subject line, "My Plan B." It said counseling, a part-time gig he was taking, a line about "I panicked and I wanted to be the hero." He's always wanted to be the one who fixes the thing in one dramatic sweep. It's one of the things I loved. It's how I got a new dishwasher in a day and, apparently, a demo permit. Update 2, 3 weeks later. A deputy from the sheriff's office called. "We got a referral," she said. "We're not kicking in doors, but forging an owner consent is not nothing." She took my statement. I emailed scans. I sent the UPS store note. She said, "We'll knock on his window the Minnesota way." "He was trying to help her," she said. My mother said he used her dead sister's name to borrow imaginary money to tear down the place where I learned to swim and then made bars because she cooks when she's furious. I drove up with my friend Matt, not husband, and a clipboard and met with a roofer who charged less than a kidney. We found mouse evidence, bat guano in the attic, and a list of things that will outlive me if I do them right. "You can keep the soul and not die of carbon monoxide," the roofer said, which felt like marriage advice. Small local sentence. On the way back, we stopped at Culver's in Cambridge, and I ate a concrete mixer like a person who deserved one single simple thing. Update 3, 6 weeks later. Counseling. I went. He went. We went once together. He said, "I thought if I asked you, you'd say no." I said, "You took away my right to say yes." He cried. I cried. The therapist said, "You two will either learn consent and repair, or you will exercise new consent and leave." I wanted to bean her with a throw pillow and then write it down on my hand. The sheriff gave the county a memo charging referred to the county attorney. They didn't arrest him. This is white collar, and he's white. I know the math. But the paper exists. The builder sent a huffy email and then disappeared like smoke. The hard money guy stopped texting. The bank marked the file "Do not proceed." The stop work order stayed. I started a spreadsheet: roof, chimney, HVAC, septic. If you've ever looked at a septic bid, you know I needed to take a walk and laugh at the sky. I asked the neighbor, camo hat, about a guy. He did. We dug into the boring future. Update 4, 2 months later, we told our moms we were separating for a while. My mother hugged me so hard she cracked something. His mother brings me jams, which is her version of apologizing for him. He texted, I found a therapist for my fixer thing, and do you need anything up there besides me to shut up? I said, please forward your county attorney letter to your new therapist. We wrote a do not demolish letter and recorded it against the property so no one else could show up in a neon vest and accidentally start something. Mark filed a civil petition for a declaratory judgment that the owner consent was forged and unenforceable. It was overkill since the county had already stopped it, but it closed a door. Small USA local sentence. I stopped at Fleet Farm in Blaine even though I didn't need a single thing and bought a flashlight, a bag of Twizzlers, and a sense of purpose. Update 5, 3 months later, friends asked, are you really blowing up your marriage over a permit? No. I was making my marriage sit in the truth that a permit was only a symptom. He's forged small things for years. The signature on the permission slip he forgot to ask me to sign when he was coaching, my name on a PTA sign-up list, a no problem yes to his boss about us hosting people in our living room without checking if I had flu. He loves big, dramatic solutions. I love boring, consistent yeses. He wants to be thanked for his vision. I want to not be made into a prop. We said, I do, to different musicals. He brought me the stamped sheriff memo and said they're not prosecuting. They want restitution for filing fees and a written apology to the county. He handed me a check for $243. He said, I'm sorry. It landed different than the ones on couches. Update 6, 5 months later, roof. Chimney. Mice eviction. One Saturday, my cousin and I ripped up the mildewed carpet and found what that was salvageable underneath. We cried like fools. I moved a photo of Aunt Joy to the mantel. I planted hostas with my mom. We took the little rowboat out. The neighbor waved from his pontoon. We drank coffee on the crooked deck and didn't talk about city spreadsheets. Chris asked if he could come up for a day. To help, he said, not to pitch. I said okay with rules, no business talk, no LLC talk, no what if we just... He held the ladder. He didn't pitch. He swept mouse poop. He left at 5. He texted, thank you for letting me be useful without being a general contractor. That's growth and also the bare minimum. Update 7, 8 months later, decision. I filed for divorce. You can love someone and say, I don't want to live with the part of you that makes me a co-star in your TED Talk. He cried and didn't beg. He said, I get it. We did it Minnesota nice. No lawyers fighting over who got the dog. We split the house equity. He kept his tools and the Tacoma. I kept the cabin because it was always mine. He signed a stipulation he will never file anything involving the property again. We hugged outside the courthouse like two people who learned a thing. Small Minnesota sentence. I went to the state fair and ate a corn dog the size of my arm, watched a man carve butter, and forgot him for an entire hour. Update 8. 1 year later, the cabin has a new metal roof, a safe venting stack, a repaired dock, and a picture of my aunt where she can be nosy about the lake. My mom and I spend weekends up there reading and swatting mosquitoes. My cousin brings his kids and they splash and I cry at the way time is a circle. Chris is dating a woman who owns a dog walking business and builds shelves in her spare time. Good for him. He sent me a link to a cabin rental account he follows and wrote, I think I was chasing this instead of us. I wrote back, you can chase with someone. Ask first. Kendra sent a holiday card with a deer on it. To the lady who said no, she wrote, I put it on the fridge. Neighbors stopped by with beer in a cooler and the gossip that the guy 2 lots down tried to put in a new boathouse without a permit, and Kendra made him take it apart. I laughed until I coughed. Small USA local sentence. I stopped at Toby's on the way home. bought pecan rolls, and listened to the twins lose on the radio with the windows down and the dog asleep in the passenger seat. Update 9, 18 months later. If you're a person who pulled up to a place that feels like your bones and found a permit with your name on it that your partner filed without asking, I'm sorry. Here's what I wish someone had handed me. Called the county. Planners are real. They are often women who have a spine and a ledger. Ask for a stop work order. Ask them to put no work without written owner consent in the file. Check the notary. Minnesota and most states keep databases. If the commission number doesn't exist or the stamp looks like it was made in a basement, it probably was. Record something. A letter, a notice, something in the property records that says, do not demolish, so the next guy who thinks he's clever bumps into a wall. Talk to a lawyer who has touched land use. Not your cousin's criminal attorney, unless your cousin's criminal attorney also loves wetland setbacks. Don't fight alone. Neighbors, moms, the county people help. Put the drama down for a weekend and fix something boring. A vent, a rail, a rusted bolt. It gives your hands a job while your brain stops sprinting. Say what you mean. You took my yes away. Say it until your mouth stops shaking. Eat Culver's. It won't fix your marriage. It will make standing in a parking lot feel like a choice you made. The lake looks exactly the same. It smells the same, and the wind makes the whitecaps in the same pattern my aunt liked to call wedding cake. The deck is still crooked. The dog still loses his mind at loons. My aunt would probably still complain about the mouse poop. I unlock the door and the weight in my chest lifts because the permit is gone and my name is on the title and no one gets to bring a bulldozer here without sitting with me at the table and saying, please. That, it turns out, is the only plan I needed. Small Minnesota sentence. I drove home on 169 through anemia, stopped for gas and a bag of dots, and for 3 songs in a row I didn't think about demos or LLCs, just cornfields, clouds, and the way the cities look when you come back.